Well, this was totally unexpected, and I just had a flash, and crazy to believe that I'm emotional. Didn't expect it. All right, got a real early start in the morning this morning. I decided I wanted to get moving so I could make sure I avoided any traffic heading into Denver, and it is a chilly one. I don't know, it's somewhere in the teens, but things are good. It's about 6:45 and hitting the road, and we'll talk to you along the way and hopefully see you in Topeka. So I decided that I-70 was moving a little too quickly, and what I needed to do was get off the highway and sit in some traffic. So that's what I'm doing. I am sitting in some traffic right now. We're going from bumper to bumper stopped to up to about 30 miles an hour, and then back down to bumper stopped. So, but I'm all doing this for a little surprise. A surprise that for me that I wasn't expecting, and maybe a surprise for you. Well, this was totally unexpected, and I just had a flash, and crazy to believe that I'm emotional. Didn't expect it. So I had a flash as I was driving out of the mountains today, entering Denver. Okay, I'm back, I think. I don't know. I don't know why it's emotional. I don't know why it's emotional, but nothing is the same, which is amazing. Amazing. So here I am at the Iliff School of Theology, which is where Elizabeth and I went to seminary. I was here as a student from 1992 to 1995, where I received my Master of Divinity. Wow, things have changed. Things have changed tremendously. This was on the corner of the DU, University of Denver campus, and was surrounded by duplexes and small little homes. And now it looks, if I'm not mistaken, as though it's been engulfed by the University of Denver and is surrounded by large apartment buildings. For Elizabeth's sake, I think I'll walk over here and show you Taylor Hall, which is where Elizabeth and I spent most of our 3 years here. And Taylor Hall is now an empty field. I had heard rumors that they had taken it down, and they did. And yeah. So I have to say, things look entirely different. The building is the same. There's the library and the main entrance. Over here is the large hall and another large hall, and behind it is the original building, the old building, which is where all of our classrooms were, and the chapel should be up there on the upper right hand side. Wow, it's amazing being back here after all these years. So thanks for taking this moment to be with me and to travel down this little bit of memory lane. There's a chance, I don't think I will though, there's a chance that I'll go and visit the first church that I ever served in, the Highland Christian Church here on Federal Boulevard in Denver, Colorado. But last time I looked it up, I believe it isn't there anymore. The church building is probably still there, although even that may not be there anymore. But I don't believe the congregation survived for more than a few decades. I was struggling when I was here. It was a suburban congregation in an urban neighborhood. It literally was a 100% Anglo-white, former Denverite population attended church there, but it was now in an entirely Spanish-speaking neighborhood, pretty much in cultural opposition to the church, and was really struggling to find its way and its place in a community that had changed drastically in the decades before I got there. Boy, it's just great to be back here. It's good to see it, yeah, thank you for putting up with me and letting me come back and do this, or at least for enjoying this time with me. So I thought with Kansas, I would actually do a little bit of a live welcome to Kansas, because there's just not much to show today. I mean, you can see in the background that this is what my view has been all day from the time I got out of the mountains. So I got out of the mountains, I stopped by Denver, and I got on I-70, and it is flat and straight and eastern Colorado and western Kansas. So I think that's going to continue until I get to Topeka. Look forward to talking to you later. Well, we made it here to Topeka, and yeah, it's been a good day. It was a long day, but not super long. Interesting, you can see I'm wearing shorts here. It's not that warm right now. It's 59, so that probably feels pretty warm to you guys. And it was 13 degrees this morning when I left. But it got up to about 65, 67 degrees in western Kansas today. I had to take my sweatshirt off and everything. It was just a little crazy. So good day of driving. It was interesting too, because while it was still 65, 66 degrees out, all the bodies of water were still frozen solid, which just tells you how cold it was. Which you all, if you're watching in the Northeast, you all know that came through with you guys last week. So you know how cold it was. So we're here, gonna check in, gonna unpack, and we're gonna go from there. So I know it's early in the day, but while I'm here at Iliff, I'm gonna go ahead and pick the musical selection of the day. I'm gonna go with Blackened by Metallica. And there's a reason why I'm doing that here and now. When I was here at Iliff, living on campus, one of my friends who lived next door in the apartment next door to us, he was actually good friends with the drummer from Metallica, and had seen them many times in concert, grew up with the drummer, and yeah, was still in contact with them regularly. And I was listening to Metallica at the time. So the song that I'm going with, as I said, is Blackened, which is actually a song about environmentalism and the destruction of the earth through carelessness. If you did not like Thunderstruck by AC/DC, this one's 10 notches above AC/DC and Thunderstruck. But it was what I was listening to when I was in seminary, and I encourage you to take a moment and listen to at least a little of it, if not all of it, and maybe download the lyrics if you can't hear them, and enjoy Blackened by Metallica. Saying that, I'm going to go get back in the Jeep because it is darn cold here and I'm shaking. I don't know if the camera is compensating for that or not. Hopefully it's not too shaky. And I'm going to get back on the road. And again, maybe we'll end up in Topeka tonight. Time to take a moment and think about our spiritual thought for the day. And I have to go back to my visit to seminary. Wow, I did not at all expect to have any emotion, and was surprised that I was so overcome with emotion just walking on the campus and by the front door. And as I thought about it through the day, I think that it comes down to, in many ways, not in many ways, in reality, that was the start of my adult life. Elizabeth and I graduated college in 1992. We got married a week after my graduation, and 2 weeks later, we packed up our 1978 Chevy Suburban and drove across the country and moved into Taylor Hall, where we started our married life together. And wow, how much has changed in the 30 years since then. What struck me was how much Denver had changed. I recognized nothing. There were no buildings that were the same except for the 2 seminary buildings and the church that was a block away. Literally nothing else, I believe, was remotely the same in any of the surrounding blocks. And then as I left the city, it was the same thing. 30 years, there was a population boom happening in Denver when we lived there. And obviously it continued. What an entirely different world. But thinking not only about how much the community changed, how much I've changed. That's really where I'm at today. Elizabeth and I moved there at 22 years of age. And the only thing I knew at that point was that I did not want to be ordained, did not want to be a pastor of a church. And 3 years later, I was ordained. I became the solo pastor of a church. A year after that, we had Jesse. 3 years after that, we had Seth. And life just continued. And it's amazing to think about how different life is now, 30 years later. We never could have predicted what those 30 years would have been like. When we left Denver and came back to New England, our thought was, of course, we'll be back to Denver or that area. We loved our time there. Never once seriously considered it after we left, despite the fact that that was our thought. Never would have expected the twists and turns that has been our lives. Interesting to just think for yourself. Where were you 30 years ago? Where were you 30 years ago, and what were your plans and your dreams and your hopes? And how much has transpired in that 30 years? Or maybe for you, you go back further. What was it like 50 years ago as you thought into the future and what life would be like? We've been blessed. I've been blessed to have a wonderful family, 2 great children, a wonderful wife, to have served 4 congregations, 1 as a student pastor in Denver, as I mentioned this morning, and then 3 pastorates after that, encompassing a total of 30 years of ministry. Wow. Talk about a lot of experiences and a lot of changes. I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before I used the quote, humans plan and God laughs. I said that my intention in going to seminary was not to be ordained and not to become a pastor of a church. And then when I made the decision to be ordained, it was, kind of a 10-year decision, and then I would find something else to do. And here we are 30 years in, and so much has changed. And I never could have predicted the life that I've lived so far, and I've still got more to go. So we never know what the future or God has in store for us. We may have our own plans and ideas. I said this the other day, on a short-term basis, but especially in a long-term basis. The best that we can do is do the best that we can in this moment, to live as faithfully as we can, as lovingly, I would argue, as we can, as graciously as we can, and really as Christians to embody the mind and spirit and heart that was Jesus in his ministry. And if we can live our lives that way, the rest will take care of itself. It will have ups and downs. It'll have challenges, sorrows and griefs and joys. And all we can do is do the best that we can do in this moment, in this point in time. And I guess that's my thought for the day. Giving thanks for all the years that have brought me to this point, for all the people, for all the congregations, for all the mentors, for all the mentees, for family, for friends, for faith, for God. Yeah, I guess in some way all of that came rushing back to me just walking back onto that campus where I started my marriage, my ministry, my adulthood, all in that one corner block, and where it's led me to today. It's great to go back. As much as things had changed, it was great to go back. So thank you for listening. So I think that's about all I have for today. It was a good drive. A lot of flat, a lot of straight, although it did start off in the mountains, and boy, it was disconcerting driving out of the mountains on rough roads, because the roads were not in great shape, in the dark, with just cars and trucks whizzing by me so fast. It was definitely disconcerting. It was great to get on the flat and just set the cruise control and just kind of tie the steering wheel straight, which I didn't literally do, and take a nap, which I didn't literally do either. But it was just much more relaxing once I got to the plains. And I suspect tomorrow will be somewhat similar, although I've got a few cities to go through. And I look forward to a nice restful night tonight and sharing the continued parts of my journey with you tomorrow as I leave Topeka, Kansas and head toward Indianapolis, Indiana. Be well.